Hey guys, first and foremost, hopefully everyone is doing well in these crazy times. We're living in a unique situation, so hopefully you and your loved ones are staying safe. I also want to thank Teemu for inviting me to this health hacking summit. Excited to share some stuff with you guys. Again, my name is Tero Isokauppila, and I'm going to talk a bit about how mushrooms and adaptogens can help you with immune support, which is pretty relevant topic. So I'm going to share my screen. Quick introduction about myself. I'm originally from Finland, currently living in Los Angeles. I grew up on our family farm that we've had at least since 1619. So grew up foraging for mushrooms and many other natural products there. I've studied chemistry, business, and nutrition, and I've written a couple books both about mushrooms and a lot about immunity. And then I founded a company called Four Sigmatic that some of you might know, that focuses on mushrooms, but also a lot of education about immunity. Frankly, we've been trying to sell immune products for 8 years. And I use this anecdote that we've been trying to sell umbrellas when the sun is shining, and now it's raining and pouring. So kind of odd time, but glad people are taking immunity into a higher concentration. So what is Four Sigmatic? We're a wellness company that help people with the world's most nutrient-dense ingredients. And the name often people ask about what the name means. It basically means that we focus on foods that are 50 standard deviations above the mean. So, beyond a superfood, if you may. Kind of a geeky name, but on the right side, you can see some examples of foods that would qualify. Some very familiar and some may be new to you. But we're not here to talk about me or Four Sigmatic. We're here to talk about what can mushrooms and adaptogens do for us. So a really quick introductions into the immune topic. I know you guys get a lot of information about this, but in generally, we can have a too active or too passive immune system. So we all have an immune system and all have this protection internally. But if our immune system is passive, where our internal security officers are being lazy, we're prone to both specific internal and external risks. This would probably, the current COVID-19 will fall into the external risk if you have a passive immune system. But you could also have a hyperactive immune response. So this will be important later when I talk about what sets mushrooms apart from other immune products. But if your immune system is too active, those internal security officers might even attack healthy cells and cause a lot of confusion. So again, you have internal and external risks. Again, this is a good frame of mind. Key, like in anything in health, is balance, which is you never achieve it, but you aim for it. So you're always teetering one way or the other. But it's good to have this kind of moderation or moderation that you want to achieve with health. So I'm going to link here a video that you guys can watch on your own on how natural killer cells are attacking viruses and how they work. But the key point is that these internal security officers, such as natural killer cells, are doing work all the time. And you will never not be exposed to internal and external risks. So external and internal risk is always going to be there. Obviously, now we're faced with a unique situation with COVID-19. But nevertheless, it's always there. And there's never or not reason to take care of your immunity. It's not just the winter months, but it's something you should look into all the time. And even if you don't, you will have these security officers inside of your body. Now, what is fascinating about the immune system is this concept of microbiome. I got this concept from my friends at biomehealth.com. But basically, there's this forever debate in health about animal products versus plant products and how they fall. Which one is better? Should you eat animal protein or not? And we forget that those are just two kingdoms out of the 5 or 6, depending on who you ask in classification. But the two kingdoms that we often forget is bacteria and fungi. And these play a huge role in multiple of our body functions, but also our immunity. So we often talk about gut-brain connection, but there really isn't anywhere in the world a place where bacteria would really exist without fungi and fungi without bacteria. So great example of this is yeast. So types of mushrooms that are needed to create bread, cheese, beer, wine, fermented products, sauerkraut, kimchi, whatnot. But they're also inside of our gut and our skin. So no matter how much you wash your hands, there will be bacteria and fungi on your skin. The question here becomes, which is maybe if you only remember one thing out of this presentation, is this, that it's not that will you have bacteria and fungi in your body, in your gut and your skin. It matters what's the quality of bacteria and fungi on your gut and skin. So these live together, and there's many kinds of bacteria and fungi that can impact. Here's some list of things that could impact, and their balance again will dictate how good is your gut health and how good is your skin health, and how those will protect you from intruders. And yeah, that's kind of the main point about mushrooms. So obviously, I'm sure a lot of you are well educated that if something is a kingdom in biology, such as mushrooms or fungi, there's good kind of mushrooms, there's bad kind of mushrooms. Candida is a bad kind of mushroom, but then there's many good kinds of mushrooms. Same way as not all animals are friendly to us, or even better example, even though plants can be really healing for us, we can also die from a lot of plants. So if plant is not a good or bad, it's a larger grouping in biology. So same with mushrooms. There's good mushrooms, bad mushrooms. But if we talk about the good mushrooms, we mostly talk about polypores, or mushrooms that grow on trees, versus the culinary mushrooms that tend to grow on the ground. So we're mostly talking about mushrooms that are growing on trees, such as chaga, reishi, lion's mane, shiitake, maitake, and a bunch of others. And their impact on our gut health and on our skin health. So this concept of microbiome might be something further to look into if you're interested in the topic. So adaptogens, so the quick overview of adaptogens and what are they? Well, they're a classification of natural compounds that are non-toxic and safe on a continuous use. There are non-specific, so impact multiple body systems, and they restore balance. So adaptogens can be plants, such as ginseng or rhodiola. They can also be mushrooms. But the key point is this really the slide that about how they don't really have this let down next day. So the original main research for adaptogens come from the Soviet Union, from Dr. Igor Lazarov. He was kind of set to find for the army tools besides the amphetamines the soldiers could take. So their performance would go up, but they wouldn't have the let down next day. And he found a group of these adaptogens, such as Eleuthero, Schisandra, rhodiola, that would give performance uplift, but would not be toxic or wouldn't have to let down next day. And why is this important for immunity is basically how do we get energy and how do we manage stress. So by far the number one enemy for our immune system is stress, and there's positive stress and negative stress. I'm sure many of you have studied this topic extensively, and these adaptogens can help in the morning and in the evening to balance stressors, which is really important, along with sleep. Kind of key factors for a good immune system is not overly stressing yourself and recovering enough, so the body can fight off intruders. So rest and recovery, pretty important for immunity. This is another graph that I'm sure at some form many of you have seen, but how cortisol is meant, and it's good that it spikes in the early part of the day, but it needs to drop low enough so melatonin can kick in at night. And the challenge often that we face is that we mess with this. We don't get enough exercise or sunlight early in the day, enough positive stressors early in the part of the day, or spike the cortisol, or maybe our bodies just shut down, our adrenals or something like that. But why we make it worse is caffeine, which further puts pressure on our cortisol and melatonin. So here's an example of just looking at the metabolic half-life of caffeine and how if you have multiple cups of coffee, how you go to bed with actually plenty of caffeine still in your system. I often say that 1 cup of coffee is a good idea. 2 cups of coffee is sometimes a good idea, but the 3rd cup is almost never a good idea. That's why we've, Four Sigmatic, for example, used mushrooms and adaptogens to create these like half caffeine products where you can still get a little bit of that uplift, but overall, when you go to bed, even if you would have that 3rd cup, which I can't really recommend, you wouldn't have this negative letdown of not having enough melatonin in your blood. So that's kind of the quick overview. We only had 20 minutes, so I had to run through pretty quickly on the general concepts of what are adaptogens, what they could do, and how could mushrooms impact. So there's plenty of literature around this topic if you want to get through how, for example, these functional mushrooms such as chaga and reishi contain these polysaccharides, which are mini sugars that get absorbed in the digestive tract, and those help modulate your immune system. Versus if you take garlic or echinacea that are immunostimulants, so going back to the original slide, immunostimulants are products that stimulate the immune system upwards, so almost like driving on the highway, and they're going to force you to go faster. And immunosuppressants, which tend to be mostly pharmaceuticals, help calm down the immune system. But what these mushrooms contain is these polysaccharides, particularly these beta-D-glucans that have immunomodulatory benefits. So they modulate the immune system. So if you need an uplift, it's going to push you up, but it's also not going to overforce it. So think of driving on the highway and driving on 60 miles or kilometers per hour and putting it on cruise control. If you go uphill, it's going to speed you up to maintain that 60 miles per hour. And if you go downhill, it's going to break you. So that's the fascinating thing about these functional mushrooms. And same with the modulatory benefits for energy production on these adaptogens. They have these body modulating benefits and compounds. And each mushroom and adaptogen might have a slightly different compound, like rhodiola might have rosavins, or reishi might have triterpenes, or chaga might have betulin and betulinic acid. So each kind of ingredient has slightly different compounds, but I try to summarize some generic guidelines on when to take and what to take out of these mushrooms and adaptogens. So focusing on kind of preparing for your immune system. So when the immune system is jeopardized, it's often already late. So you want to prepare your immune system for a tough time. But things like chaga mushroom and eleuthero adaptogens are great. I also think that clean protein is really, really good for protecting the body going forward. Other things are turkey tail mushroom, turmeric, vitamin C. These are things that help prepare the body. When you got to perform, for mostly brain power, lion's mane and rhodiola, and B vitamins and matcha. But maybe the other fascinating thing for immunity is this restore element, where reishi and ashwagandha would be more of calming products, along with tulsi and things like magnesium, so to say. So maybe in the morning taking chaga, eleuthero, turmeric, vitamin C, turkey tail, and evening reishi, ashwagandha, maybe cacao drink with a little bit of maybe magnesium. So this would be kind of my general guidance on what to take and when to take it. Now there's so much knowledge about each one of these different topics. I could go and talk 20 minutes alone about any one of these specific topics. But I also want to be respectful of the time and all the other amazing presentations that you guys have access to. The key thing here is, again, is like, what can you do? What is in your control? It is not sometimes in your control what is the external risk, such as what we're now facing with COVID-19. It's not always in your control, but what is in your control is how you prepare your body to any kinds of stressors. And once you have those stressors and you notice them, maybe by using quantified metrics or just by listening to your body and realizing that either day to day because of sleep or exercise, or in this case, because of an external intruder, you have additional stressors and finding ways to relax. And by relaxing, you're not going to make things work. You're going to make them better. So that's kind of my quick overview of mushrooms and adaptogens. Thanks again for tuning in and letting me share some of the stuff. 20 minutes is just simply too short to go super deep. But on foursigmatic.com, we share plenty of knowledge about this topic. And also we have a newsletter, quite popular newsletter with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And we share content on Instagram, pretty much daily basis videos. And you can also find me on Instagram at @Tero and or look at iTunes for various podcasts that I've done on YouTube. Check out some of the educational videos that I've done. So again, thanks to Teemu and the team for having me on. Hopefully there was something insightful about this. And thanks again for listening, and appreciate you taking the time to educate yourself and take responsibility for making your own health better. So stay shroomy and take care. Thanks. Bye.